Hello everyone and welcome back to another video at Battlegrounds Game Center. I'm Patrick and today I'm going to be showing you how to play Star Wars Unlimited. Star Wars Unlimited is a new TCG by Fantasy Flight Games. It brings all your favorite leaders and characters from the Star Wars universe into one game where you can battle it out, dwindle your opponent's base, and win the day. Everything I'm showing you today comes in the Spark of Rebellion 2-player starter set, from the cards, the playmats, the tokens, and if you'd like to go into more detail on what is included, click on this link here to check out the unboxing and then come on back and watch how to play. With this 2-player starter set, all the 2 decks that come in it are already pre-built and you don't have to worry about any kind of deck building as you would normally do when you buy booster packs. You will have a leader card and a base that will make up the start of your deck, and then you can build your 50 cards based off the aspects listed on these cards. You can include additional aspects, as many as you wish. However, there is a thing called an aspect penalty, which will make your cards cost more resources. But all that will be in the quick start guide rules for whenever you want to start building your own decks. But for today, we're going to show you the starter decks and how they play. So before we get started on gameplay, let's take a look at what kind of cards can be included in your deck. First, let's take a look at the leader card. Here, I have Darth Vader. Darth Vader includes 2 aspects on the side here, which can be included in your deck, as well as an action and an epic action. We'll get into actions later, but note that an epic action is a one-time use per game. When you use this action, he will actually flip over and come out onto the board as a unit. When we get to units, we will explain that into further detail. But for now, that is your leader card. You also have a base. So a base is part of your deck building as well. It gives you another aspect, so you'll have 3 aspects typically for your deck, and it also tells you how much life it has left. This is the value that is needed to be reduced to win the game. So when you're going up against each other, as you do damage to the opponent's base, once it hits 0, you will win the game. So those are the 2 mandatory cards that are needed to build your deck, and it includes the type of aspects you will use. Your deck, though, is made up of an additional 50 cards, which can be made up of these types of cards here, which we will go into one at a time. So let's move on and look at the first card here, Events. So events are one-time use cards where you'll play them and then they will go to your discard after doing their ability here. They have a resource cost and then their aspect listed. The resources is how much it is cost to play the card. The aspect is used for when you're deck building, and if you have any additional aspects here that are not part of your base or your leader, you have what is called an aspect penalty, which is an additional cost to your resources. But I'll leave that for you to find as you're building your decks. The next card type we have is an upgrade. Upgrades have their costs listed on the top left as well as their aspects, and in addition they may have win plate abilities or restrictions. What makes an upgrade cool, though, is it'll actually be slotted underneath another card and augment its power or health, or giving it a new ability. So there are some tokens that come with the starter sets like shields, which make it to where if you get hit, you don't take any damage, or experience, which gives you a +1/+1 counter. And this one is Darth Vader's lightsaber, which gives you a +3 power and +1 health. And this ability is when it's played under Darth Vader, it actually does 4 damage to another unit. So upgrades are pretty cool. The last type of card available to you when you're deck building are units, and there are actually 2 types. You have ground units, which I'll tell you on the top here, and then you have space units. They have their cost on their top left, as well as their aspects, their power, their health, and most of them have some kind of ability, whether it's win played, a keyword, or activated ability, and some of them don't. But what makes this really cool and unique is when you play these, they will go to their own separate battlefields. So if I play Grand Moff Tarkin here, he's going to go into the ground battlefield. Where if I play this TIE Fighter, it'll go into the space battlefield. And what makes this cool is space can't attack ground, ground can't attack space. So when you're going up against an opponent, say they have a lot on their ground, you might try playing some more space to get around them to hit their base directly. So when you're deck building, it's definitely recommended that you kind of keep an even spread of space and ground. Or maybe just go all out on one side while maybe somebody else has a bunch of space cards out, and so you really overwhelm them that way. But the choices are yours. All right, now that we know what's in the game, let's go ahead and learn how to play. If you pick up the 2-player starter set, you'll actually get this really handy playmat, which shows you all the different locations to put your cards, your resources, and everything, but it also gives you setup, round structure, and a list of the keywords that are in all the cards in the starter deck. So highly recommend picking one of these up just for the mat alone. But you also get some tokens and the cards and decks themselves. To set up, you're going to be placing your base on the top here, your leader on the bottom, so they are not on the field right away, but you do have access to them. You then randomly determine the player that's going to start the game, whether with like a die roll, a coin flip, and then they will get this initiative counter here. Whoever gets it will place the initiative counter to the side to show that they will go first. You then will take your deck of 50 cards, you'll shuffle them, and then you will draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. Your deck goes over here. You'll look at them, determine if you like what you have. The recommendation is to have a bunch of 2s and 3s, 1s, 2s, and 3s to start, just to make it a little easier. But if you don't like what you have, you can always mulligan, which is getting rid of all 6 cards back to your deck. They'll get shuffled back in here. And then you'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new cards for a whole new hand. Then, from that hand of cards, you're going to actually choose 2 of these to become resources. So like say here, I have 2 doubles here. So I might go ahead and take one of those as a resource. And Palpatine, while cool, he costs 8, so it's going to take a while for me to get to him. So I'll probably just go ahead and make him into a resource. So your starting hand is going to be 4 cards plus the 2 resources that you play. And then you're ready to play. So Star Wars Unlimited actually plays a little bit different than from what you would probably consider the typical way to play a TCG or CCG. Whereas I play my whole turn, do everything I want to do, and then I pass it to you. And then you do your whole turn, and then you pass it to me, and so forth until one of us wins. What makes Star Wars Unlimited different is there's an action phase where I take one action, you take one action. I take another action, you take another action. And then we keep going until both of us pass. And then the round, that phase is over, and then we go into a regroup phase, and then we start a whole new round. So what are some of those actions that you can take? Well, there's a few of them. There's play a card from your hand. There's an attack with a unit. There's a use an action ability on a card in play. You can take the initiative, or you can pass. So to start, playing a card from your hand is pretty simple. You're going to look at the cards you have, whether they're units, upgrades, events, and so forth. And you're going to look at how many resources you have. So right now, we start with 2. I have a 3, a 4, a 3, and a 2. So I can't play these 3. But I could play this First Legion Snowtrooper. It has the cost on the top left, and I can tell that it's a unit, and it's a ground unit. So that means it's going to come out to play. When you play a unit card, they initially have a summoning sickness, so they can't activate right away, typically. There are some keywords that get around that, and we'll get to that later. But when I play this card for the 2 resources, I'm going to tap to show it's been played, and then put this out onto the battlefield. Now it's a ground, so it's going to go on this side. Space would go over here. And now it is tapped. It can't do anything else. It's done. So now, after I've played my card, it would go to my opponent's turn. So they might play a card or something else. And then it would come back to me. Now, I have no more resources, so there's not really much else I can do because I can't attack with him because he just came in. So what I might do is keep the initiative, which I had already gotten. So what I'll do is I'll take it, and then that means I am completely out for the rest of the round. So you might take the initiative as the very first thing you do in a round. Who knows? And then when it comes back to you, you are considered to have passed every single time it would come back to you, so your opponent can keep playing. So while taking the initiative is good because you can go first, you got to do it at the right time because that way you might not have any answers to what your opponent's doing. So that would be a round. It's just playing a card there, using the resources, taking the initiative. Those are the actions I took. After both players have passed consecutively, we go into what's a regroup phase. So first thing is you're going to draw 2 cards to add to your hand. So now I have these 2 cards here. And then you may pick one of these and turn it into a resource. So I might go ahead and pick, see here, I have 2 open fires, so I might just go ahead and pick this open fire and turn it into a resource. And then the last thing you're going to do is ready all your exhausted cards. So you're ready to start the next action phase. Since I took the initiative, I still get to go first this round. Had my opponent taken the initiative, they would have taken their first action. But since I took it, I get to take the first action. And then also, if you had any units that came in that were tapped or had already attacked, you also untap them with everything else. And you're ready to start a new round. So now we are in round 2. So I have a unit that is now unexhausted because it came out last round. I took the initiative, so I get to go first. And instead of playing a card, another action you can take is attacking with a unit. So say I chose to attack with my 1st Legion Snowtrooper here. You'll see he has a 2 attack power, and then he also has an ability here that says, while attacking a damaged unit, this unit gets +2, +0, and gains Overwhelm. Overwhelm is a keyword that allows you to do excess damage onto the opponent's base. So if they only had 1 life and I dealt 2 damage, plus that 2, I would do 3, because I would be doing 4 normally, 1 to their 1 life, and then 3 overwhelming. But I'm not attacking any damaged units right now, so that wouldn't come into play. So it would just be the straight 2. So if I go to attack, I have the option of choosing to attack a unit, or I can attack a base. Now, you would think, oh, just attack the base, to do damage to it, and so you can win quicker. Well, while that may be, sometimes people are going to have multiple units out against you, and if you don't take out their units, they're going to overwhelm you before you overwhelm them. So there's a lot of choices involved with how you attack. Say my opponent had played this card last turn here. So this is the Rebel Pathfinder. It has 2 attack and 3 life, whereas my Snowtrooper here has 2 attack, 3 life. So I choose to attack this unit on my opponent's side. I'm going to tap them, and then the damage will be dealt simultaneously to each other. So I'll do 2 damage to them, they'll do 2 damage to me. We won't kill each other, but we will end up doing damage to each other. So you would have to mark it as such with either tokens or dice. And damage in this game actually stays on the cards between rounds. So next time, maybe they go to attack during their turn, they could attack and deal that last bit of damage to get rid of them, but then I would also attack back and deal with them. And mutually destruction between both of us. So that's how attacking would work. Now there are also, like I said, some keyword abilities that might trigger, but I will leave those for you to discover on the cards themselves, as well as there is keywords down here that show you how they activate on the playmats, if you do get them. So that is attacking. So then it would go to my opponent's turn. They would take an action, so they might attack. They would get rid of both these cards, possibly, or they would attack my base. If they attack your base, you simply just mark the damage on the base itself. Say they did 2 damage. I have 2 damage on my base. Now I only have 28 life left. Now, there are some cards in the game, some specific keywords, like this cell block guard here, that has the keyword Sentinel. Sentinel is a nice thing to get out because when you put it out, it keeps your opponent from directly attacking your base. They have to go through the Sentinel first. They're kind of like, guarding. There are other keywords that get around this, like Saboteur and so forth, but keep that in mind. If you have Sentinels out, it actually stops them from attacking their base. But that's only specifically for ground units. You'd have to have a Sentinel on space to keep the space from attacking. So far, we have gone over how to play a card from your hand or to attack with a unit. But we also have using an action ability on a card in play. Action abilities, like on Darth Vader here, will have the name action here, and then it'll have a cost, and then it'll show you how to activate it. So for Darth Vader here, you're going to have to spend 1 resource, and then you'll tap him, which he'll go to the side like this to show he's used it. And then if you've played a card of this symbol this phase, you deal 1 damage to a unit and 1 damage to a base. So say I had played this 1st Legion Snowtrooper this turn. He has that symbol here that matches the symbol on Darth Vader. So that means I could, during an action, spend this to use his ability, which deals 1 damage to another unit and 1 damage to an opponent's base. Simple as that. Most leaders will have an ability like this. You just kind of have to read and do what they say. But that is how you activate an action ability. There is another action ability, though, on a leader called an epic action. So epic actions don't cost any resources or anything like that. They just have a stipulation here. So like if I control 7 or more resources, I can deploy this leader. When you deploy, you'll flip them, and then they will come out onto the battlefield here, whether they're space or ground, and they are actually ready to go. So they don't come in tapped or anything like that. They will come in ready to be used during another action. So if it ever comes back to me, then I could use Darth Vader here as like a normal unit to attack a base or attack another unit. If though, your leader takes enough damage to hit their amount of health that they have, they are taken out of action. Instead of going to the discard pile though, they will go back to their leader space. And then you will take this token here, or some kind of denoted token, to place it over the epic action ability, showing that it can no longer be used for the rest of the game. It is a one-time use per game, but they can still use their action activated ability. So those are all the major actions that you can take, from playing a card, attacking with the unit, using an action ability, taking the initiative, and then the final thing you can do is just pass. So on your turn, if you don't have anything you want to play, or you kind of want to wait to see what your opponent does, you might just pass. But keep in mind, if your opponent also passes, that's just going to end the round. So while you may pass before you play anything, it isn't guaranteed that it's going to come back to you. Because if they also take the initiative, they are also considered to pass. So keep that in mind as you're playing. And then after each action phase, you'll go back to a regroup phase, where you'll draw 2 more cards. You can choose one to turn into a resource. And then you ready all your cards and you keep going. And then the first player to reduce their opponent's base down to 0 life from 30 is the winner of the game. Before we end this video, I'd like to explain a few more additional rules. When you're deck building, you can have the max of 3 cards of a certain card. So right here I have 3 Vader's lightsabers. You can never have more than 3, but you can have anywhere from 1 to 3. In addition, there are some cards, including Grand Moff Tarkin here, that have this little star symbol next to their name. While you can have up to 3 of these cards in your deck, when they have that symbol, you can only play 1 of these to the board. You can never have more than 1. It's kind of like a unique symbol. However, if you play another one of the same type, you get to choose which one to destroy. So, you might have taken some damage on Moff Tarkin here, but this one is a fresh one, so you might play the second one to get rid of the one that has taken damage. So having additional is nice for that reason, but you can also use them as resources. So if you have all 3 of them in your starting hand, you might just keep them and then turn the other 2 into a resource. So those are some additional rules to keep in mind while you're deck building and playing the game. Look out for the unique symbol, and you can never have more than 3 of a card in your deck. And there you have it, how to play Star Wars Unlimited. If you'd like to see more content like this, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. It keeps you updated to everything that we have coming out on a weekly basis, from unboxings to how to plays to maybe even some reviews in the future. Thank you again for watching this how to play of Star Wars Unlimited. I'm Patrick at Battlegrounds Game Center, and until next time, see you later.